if you ask most people to define life, they generally, they limit it to the span between birth and burial.
Right.
It's that this is it mentality. You get 60, 70, maybe if you're lucky, 80 years. And, well, that's the sum total of your journey.
And that one view, that single perspective,
Yeah.
it shapes absolutely all of our priorities.
Completely.
We view death as the final curtain, the great unknown, the complete cessation of everything we are. But what if that perspective is fundamentally, well, incomplete?
What if it's just one chapter in a much longer book?
Exactly. What if your soul, the real you, is not only eternal, but is currently inhabiting the third of 6 distinct sequential worlds?
That is the really radical premise we are diving into today. Our sources, and we've got a stack of profound theological texts, historical accounts, foundational narratives, they don't treat death as an end.
Not at all.
They treat it as a predetermined, mandatory transfer.
That's the perfect word for it, transfer. This deep dive is really about establishing a comprehensive spiritual map. And the key linguistic indicator here is the term used in the Quran for taking a life.
Okay.
It's yadahofan. Now, the sources are clear that every soul must taste mot, or death. But the actual mechanism, the action the angel performs, is yadahofan.
And what's the crucial distinction there between mot and yadawafan?
It's everything. Mot is the cessation, the end of the physical function of the body. It's the clinical definition of death.
The flat line.
A flat line, exactly. But yadawafan is completely different. Its root meaning implies being captured or transferred, a kind of divine repossession. It's used consistently. It's even used to describe how Allah takes your soul when you sleep, only to return it before you wake. Death is simply the permanent version of that capture and transfer.
So the soul itself, it doesn't die.
The soul is seen as eternal. It had a point of creation, its first birth. And once it's created, it never truly dies. It just moves. It changes locations.
So the mission today is to trace the entirety of this spiritual timeline. 5 major transfers across 6 distinct worlds.
Yes.
Because if we can truly get our heads around this timeline, if we really understand that we're just in world 3 of 6,
then it absolutely mandates a radical overhaul of our priorities in this current fleeting life.
Okay, let's unpack this timeline then. If this physical life, this dunya, is world 3, we have to start at the very genesis of the soul.
Rule number 1.
Which the sources call alam ul-arwa, the abode of souls.
This is the point of origin for every one of us. And the sources, they present this really stunning collective creation process. It's not what most people imagine.
Right. It's not like Allah created souls one by one over millennia.
Not at all. He created all souls. And every human being that has ever been, that currently exists, or ever will exist, from the very backbone or the spine of Adam.
Wait, from the backbone of Adam? I need you to elaborate on that imagery. That's a lot to take in.
Think of Adam not just as the first man, but as the repository, the genetic archive, if you will.
Okay.
He contained the essence, the seeds of every future human. The sources really emphasize this collective origin. Me, you, the billions who lived in antiquity, the billions alive now, we were all housed, in essence, in Adam's progeny before our individual souls were drawn forth.
That immediately implies this primal connection we all share. It sort of bypasses race, time, geography, all of it.
It does. We are all from that one single source.
So what was life like in this pure state, in world number 1?
It was pure soul life, and it lasted for a monumental period. Some sources suggest thousands upon thousands of years.
Thousands of years.
And critically, the soul existed without the limitations of a body, without gender, and without the social structures we know.
So no mother, father, brother, sister?
None of that. Not in the earthly sense. You were simply a soul among a vast, vast ocean of other souls.
But the sources say we recognized each other. How did that collective consciousness work if there were no, family ties to structure it?
There was interaction, certainly. The souls inherently knew each other.
Yeah.
It was a connection rooted in that shared origin we just talked about.
A spiritual recognition.
A spiritual recognition. But the prime focus of existence, the entire purpose of this world, was singular. Total
Constant remembrance.
Constant remembrance, constant focus on Allah. The only purpose was obedience, and viewing Allah as the prime focus. In some ways, it mirrored the existence of the angels. It was a life of perfect, unadulterated spiritual comfort.
And it's within this world of perfect comfort that the central defining event happens.
The covenant.
This is where it gets intellectually vital for us here in World 3.
It is the foundational pact. Allah gathered all these souls, this entire ocean of humanity, and He posed one single defining question.
Am I not your provider? Alastu bi rabbikum?
Yeah.
That question, it isn't just asking for theological recognition, is it? It's asking for recognition of sustained life, of provision itself.
That's it, exactly. It encompasses everything. Sustenance, existence, the very air you breathe, so to speak.
Right.
Everything that makes being possible. And the response, it wasn't hesitant.
That was
A
unanimous.
single, unanimous, powerful reply from every soul at once. Of course, we are witness to this. Bala Shahidna.
Bala shahidna.
And this agreement, this universal testimony, is what we call fitra, the innate disposition, the primal knowledge that exists deep within every single human being, regardless of their upbringing or circumstances later on.
So if the sources are right, we all signed the contract.
We all did.
We all bore witness to divine reality before we even entered our bodies, and it preempts every possible excuse on the day of judgment.
That is the astonishing implication. And it's precisely the reason for the covenant. Allah has established this so that ultimately on the day of reckoning, no one can raise two specific excuses.
Okay, what are they?
First, I wasn't aware of this reality. No one told me. And second, and this is so crucial in modern society, it was my parents' fault. They were misguided, and therefore I was misguided.
Right, I was just a product of my environment.
Exactly. This primal contract demolishes that excuse. It establishes individual accountability from the very beginning and proves that knowledge of the divine is inherent, even if it gets buried by the distractions of dunya.
This world one, it sounds like paradise. A life of pure obedience, perfect comfort.
It was.
So why the first transfer? Why the move into the messy, confining experience of world two?
And that is the first great mystery of the soul's journey, isn't it? The forced departure from comfort. The sources are clear. The soul was reluctant to leave. It knew nothing else.
He only knew Allah.
It only knew perfect submission and comfort. But the transfer had to happen for the test to begin. The call came when Adam and Eve began having children. Allah started picking souls, one by one.
Like names from a hat.
In a way, yes. Deciding their specific parents, their time on earth, their destiny, and initiating that first transfer toward embodiment.
Which brings us to world two, the mother's womb. The second transfer happens, and the soul is now essentially caged.
It's caged. The physical process is detailed in the traditions, specifically in a hadith recorded by Imam Bukhari, a highly authenticated source.
And what does that say?
It describes the soul being blown into the fetus by an angel after 3 sets of 40 days.
So around 4 months into the pregnancy.
Right around the 4-month mark. It's a
Yeah.
divine action. The text likens it to inflating a tire with air. Suddenly, this form is animated with the soul. And that is the moment a specific set of human connections is established. These two people are your parents.
And the mission of pure dhikr from world one is now confined. It's in a dark, silent, warm environment where sustenance is completely automatic.
Yes, the body is entirely dependent. And this specific environment, this state of confinement and dependence, sets up the perfect analogy for understanding the skepticism about the next life.
The analogy of the believing twin and the disbelieving twin in the womb, this is such a powerful tool for explaining why people deny the existence of, say, Barzakh or the afterlife.
It's the ultimate parallel. It's just perfect. Imagine these two fetuses in the womb, fully aware, having a conversation about their immediate reality.
Okay.
The believing twin starts detailing the world outside, what we call dunya. He talks about massive space, blinding light, colors, texture,
Things he can't possibly prove.
things he has no physical proof for. He talks about the ability to communicate freely, the complexity of people, houses, cars, technology, and he stresses this one critical point. When we leave here, we will have to eat autonomously. We will have to seek out our own provision.
And the disbelieving twin, the empiricist, just shuts it all down.
Immediately. He dismisses every single point. He says, this redness, this confinement, this consistent warmth, this is it. This is all there is. Look around you. Have you ever seen this so-called light?
Has anyone ever come back?
Exactly. Has anyone ever returned from that place you described to tell us it's real? You are a fool. You're crazy for believing in these invisible things. I don't eat autonomously. This tube provides everything I need. Your talk of seeking provision is just lunacy.
What stands out to me there is the disbeliever's total reliance on having seen someone return.
Yes.
Because that is the exact challenge non-believers or even weak believers pose today regarding the grave. Show me someone who's come back.
Precisely. The lesson is that this confined, dark, limited worldview is mirrored in World 3. When we, the believers, talk about the reality of Barzakh, the day of judgment, and eternal Jannah, the skeptic echoes that twin in the womb.
Show me the proof. Show me someone who has come back from the grave.
But just as both twins inevitably must leave the comfort of the womb and face the reality of World 3, regardless of what they believed,
Right. Birth happens whether you believe in the outside world or not.
so too must every single person face the reality of the intermediate world, World 4. The denial is always based on a limited, temporary experience.
Okay, so we make that second transfer birth and we enter World 3. Done ya.
The test environment.
The test environment. We now have intelligence, agency, movement, and, well, a staggering array of comforts. This is where the challenge really kicks in, isn't it?
The challenge is inherent in the design of the world itself. The comfort, the house, the stable job, the spouse, the children, the Wi-Fi, the degree, it's all fundamentally dangerous.
Danger has how.
It makes us heavy on the ground. We become anchored to this fleeting existence, just as the soul was anchored to the world of souls, and just as the fetus was anchored to the womb. We forget that the mission is still the same. Carry on seeing Allah as the provider and prepare for the next transfer.
So it's the ultimate bait and switch. We're given all these beautiful, wonderful gifts, but they're designed to be temporary distractions that can pull us away from our eternal purpose.
And that leads us directly to the rational choice framework,
Oh.
the argument that the righteous man in Pharaoh's court presented, which is recorded in Surah 40.
The Theron wager.
It completely reframes belief not as some blind leap of faith, but as the ultimate rational, risk-averse choice.
Let's dedicate some time to this. Let's really lay out the logic of this eternal risk assessment.
Okay, so you have this man hiding his faith, and he stands up against the most powerful tyrant on earth, Pharaoh, who is openly denying the afterlife.
It's a very dangerous thing to do.
Incredibly brave. And he argues, he says, look, let's just consider the possibilities. If Moses Musa is lying about the day of judgment and the rewards and punishments that follow, and we choose to believe him and live a moral life.
Okay, what's the downside?
What have we lost? We've sacrificed some immediate comforts, maybe given some wealth away in charity, observed certain disciplines, but in the grand scheme of things, if he's wrong, we've lost nothing.
Because once you die, it's just over.
It's over. And we're no worse off than the disbeliever.
But the risk assessment flips completely if the prophet is right.
Absolutely. The man continues. But if Moses is right, if the afterlife is real, if Jannah and Jahannam exist, and we choose to disbelieve him, then part of what he has said will surely befall us.
And the cost there is infinite.
It's eternal, devastating loss. The calculation is just brutally simple. 0 loss for believing falsely versus infinite loss for disbelieving truly. Therefore, the most pragmatic, the most intellectually consistent choice is to accept the message and prepare for that eternal reality.
That reframes the entire purpose of faith. It's not about emotional comfort. It's about minimizing eternal risk.
Precisely. And this rational wager, it connects directly to the system that was put in place to ensure we don't forget the contract we signed in World 1.
The anti-forgetfulness program.
If the danger is attachment and forgetfulness, then the religious law, the Sharia, is the compulsory anti-forgetfulness program.
Let's dive into the specifics of that. How are the 5 pillars, for example, architected to break these attachments and keep reminding us of World 6?
Let's start with ownership. The thing that really makes us heavy on the ground.
Okay.
Zakat and Sadaqah, charity. Compulsory charity, the 2.5% on your wealth, is mandated specifically because absolute ownership breeds moral blindness and greed.
It makes you think, this is mine.
This is mine. I earned it. I'm keeping it. By enforcing regular, involuntary giving, Allah forces us to recognize that the wealth is temporary, and we are merely custodians. This practice prevents the soul from becoming permanently weighted down by the illusion of possession.
And then you have the grand pilgrimage, Hajj, which is the ultimate physical simulation of the Day of Judgment.
Hajj is a compulsory, intense exercise in detachment. You are forced to dress like the dead, those simple, unstitched white shrouds.
The ihram.
The ihram. You strip away all marks of status, wealth, and nationality. You could be a king or a street sweeper, and you look identical.
Everyone is equal.
Everyone is equal.
Yeah.
And when you stand on the plains of Arafat proclaiming, I'm here, you are simulating that moment of resurrection, acknowledging that all these temporary identities have dissolved. It is the annual reset button for the entire community.
But the most frequent, and you could argue the most vital interruption is Salah, the 5 daily prayers.
Yes.
And the sources are clear. This is not for convenience. It's by compulsion.
The 5 prayers are deliberately, brilliantly spaced throughout the day. Fajr before dawn, Duhr at midday, Asr in the afternoon, Maghrib at sunset, and Isha at night. This timing is the key.
Because they break up the day.
They constantly interrupt our worldly focus. The 9-to-5 grind, the domestic routines, the comfort of relaxation to sort of violently reconnect the root of the soul back to its origin and its destination. It forces you to acknowledge a greater reality every few hours.
The disruption itself is the purpose. And this brings us back to that anecdote you mentioned about the man trying to shortcut the system.
Yes, the story is so illustrative. You have this man who was very keen on his faith, but he was worried about praying openly at his workplace.
He didn't want to cause a scene.
He was worried about his job. So he would sneak into his supply cupboard, and if someone came in, he'd pretend to be organizing things.
Okay.
So he approaches a scholar and asks very sincerely, he says, "Look, since I am so faithful and I don't want to risk my job, can I just pray all 5 prayers when I get home? In one long session.
Just consolidate the ritual?
Make it more efficient." And what was the theological response?
It must have been a no.
An emphatic no. The structure of the prayer times 5 specific, non-negotiable segments distributed across the day is the point. Allah structured it that way because he knows human nature.
We need to be interrupted.
We need constant, timed interruptions. You can't compress a continuous necessary journey into one burst of effort. The interruption is the whole point. The timing is the key mechanism for breaking our sustained focus on dunya.
So it's about the sanctity of time, not the efficiency of the ritual.
Perfectly put.
So if the Sharia is designed to limit these distractions, how does this guidance system handle the unique distractions of World 3? Particularly things like intense, immediate worldly love and, of course, information overload.
Well, the restrictions like prohibiting men from wearing gold or silk or mandating seriousness in relationships, they all serve the same core function: to prevent an intoxicating level of comfort that leads to spiritual forgetfulness. Intense, easy love, like casual boyfriend-girlfriend relationships, it can consume your focus entirely.
That's a powerful distraction.
It's an incredibly powerful emotional distraction that makes the soul feel completely fulfilled here in dunya, which can eliminate the desire for world 6.
But marriage, by contrast, is sort of normalized by responsibility, isn't it?
Exactly. While marriage starts with great love, the daily grind, the responsibilities, the bills, the children sharing the burdens, it normalizes that initial emotional intensity over time.
It becomes a partnership.
It becomes a partnership, and this normalization allows the couple to shift their focus back to life's greater purpose, working together toward that eternal reward. Allah does not want a comfort that makes us want to stay here forever.
Now let's address the modern fitna, the trial, the tribulation of information overload. This is a huge one. How it fuels doubt and introduces these conflicting, non-canonical concepts like reincarnation, which fundamentally deny this whole 6-world structure.
This is perhaps the greatest challenge of our age. It really is. People are bombarded with contradictory claims. They'll come to scholars with questions that are based on atheistic premises or concepts they've just gleaned from unfiltered digital searches.
They hear about reincarnation and start thinking, well, maybe.
Maybe it's not a straight line. Maybe I come back. It introduces doubt where there was certainty.
And the source material uses a very sharp analogy for Google here, comparing it to a vacuum cleaner.
It's perfect, isn't it? A vacuum cleaner just sucks up everything indiscriminately. Truth, lies, dirt, pens, curtains, fabrication, dust, it all goes in.
And the result is a chaotic mess inside the bag.
A chaotic mess. You cannot build authentic foundational knowledge from an unfiltered pile of data. Relying on Google for your theological grounding is like trying to learn brain surgery from watching random YouTube clips. It's dangerous.
So if the vacuum cleaner is the problem, what's the structure designed to filter the information? What's the alternative?
The authentic approach relies on isnad, the chain of narration, or what we can call a chain of blessed company.
A verified lineage of knowledge.
Exactly. True religious knowledge is transmitted through verified, living teachers who can trace their learning back, person by person, generation by generation.
All the way back.
All the way back to the companions of the prophet and to the messenger himself. This chain guarantees the integrity and the purity of the knowledge. It ensures it hasn't been tainted by the vacuum cleaner's mess.
So the ultimate takeaway from dunya, from this third world, has to be its sheer brevity.
It's a blip.
We lived for thousands of years in World 1, and eternity awaits in World 6. These 40, 60, 80 years. They're a statistical anomaly.
And yet we've spent so much energy on permanence here, building careers, securing assets, when the metaphor is just brutally simple.
Your car goes to the scrapyard.
and you're inevitably going to the graveyard.
Yeah.
Prioritize the journey, not the temporary vehicle.
So the third life ends with a third transfer, the moment of death. And this transfer, unlike the others, it's unavoidable for the body.
Completely unavoidable.
What is the immediate, life-shattering realization of the dying person at that moment?
The very first realization that hits with a terrifying, undeniable clarity is, I am a soul. I am not this body.
Wow.
The material shell, the thing they identified with for decades, suddenly begins to fail, and the soul understands its true, separate, and eternal nature.
And that moment is the point of no return for repentance.
The opportunity for taba, for sincere saving repentance, is gone the moment the angels of death appear at the deathbed. The sources define this as the closing of the door.
The test is over.
The test is over, the pencils are down, and the time for the transfer has arrived.
Yeah.
The game is over, and the score is tallied.
At this time, all those intense attachments from Dunya, the mother, the spouse, the career, the wealth, they have to be cut.
They vanish instantly. In that moment, the dying person is solely and completely focused on the journey out of the body. There are no familial claims, no worldly concerns. The soul is then captured Yadawafan and transferred to World 4.
World 4, Barzakh.
Barzakh.
Which is often translated as just the grave, but it's more accurately the intermediate life, isn't it? A kind of holding pattern between death and the grand resurrection.
That's a great way to put it. It's a holding pattern. And the soul resides here in one of two states, depending entirely on its deeds in dunya.
Both mentioned in the Quran.
Both. For the good soul, it is a place of comfort and expansion called Alim. For the bad soul, it is a place of constriction and punishment called Sijin. This is the fourth life.
Let's focus on the good soul in Alien. The sources say this is not a lonely existence. In fact, it's an immediate family reunion.
It is a stunning scene of welcome. When a righteous person arrives in Alien, family members who pass before them, grandfathers, uncles, children, those who share that eternal primal connection, they rush forward to greet the newcomer.
With joy.
With joy. But their first questions are not about the newcomer's journey. They're about the family still left behind in Dunya.
They're asking for news.
They're desperate for news. How is your sister? Did your son finally get married? Is so-and-so still firm in their faith? They want to know how the rest of the family is doing in the test.
So there's this continued interest in the world they left, but from a perspective of total security and peace?
Exactly. They retain their familial love, but they are safe and they are waiting. Conversely, the sources describe the bad soul in Sijin as being entirely isolated.
No reunion for them.
They don't see any families there whatsoever. Their physical confinement is compounded by complete and total spiritual loneliness.
This concept, it really challenges the idea that the dead are completely disconnected from us.
It does.
So how does the soul in Barzakh maintain a connection, however fleeting, with the world of the living, beyond just retaining an interest in them? The sources point to dreams.
This is a critical theological concept, and it's explained in Surah 39. The Quran states that Allah catches souls twice, once at death, when He transfers the soul permanently to Barzakh, and the second time, repeatedly, during sleep. Every single night, the soul of a living person ascends, it is captured, and then it's returned before they awaken.
So when we sleep, our soul is temporarily in a state that's similar to the soul in Barzakh.
They're in the same spiritual proximity. And if Allah grants the permission, the soul of the living person during this nightly capture can meet the soul of a loved one who has passed into Barzakh.
So that's what's happening.
This is why deceased family members can appear so vividly and authentically in our dreams. According to this view, it's not a mere subconscious projection. It's a genuine meeting of souls, facilitated by divine permission in the world of dreams.
That makes the connection very real. It bridges the gap between this life and the intermediate life. And sometimes the state of the soul in Barzakh can even manifest physically, can't it? Specifically through the grave itself.
Yes, through fragrance. This is the tangible evidence that Barzakh is a physical reality, not just a theoretical state.
And the most famous case is Imam Bukhari.
One of the most famous, yes. The great collector of prophetic traditions, buried in Bukhara, Russia. When he was buried, an impossibly beautiful, potent fragrance, unlike any known perfume, musk, or flower, began emanating from his grave.
And this caused a frenzy.
A total frenzy.
Yeah.
People flocked there for 3 days straight, convinced this fragrance was absolute proof of his blessed state in Alain. They started scooping up the soil from his grave, taking handfuls home because the earth itself had absorbed the scent.
And the scholars became concerned.
They became terrified that people would literally empty the entire gravesite trying to acquire this blessed soil.
I had to intervene.
They gathered, and they had to pray to Allah to stop the manifestation of the fragrance just to preserve the sanctity of the grave. And on the third day, it ceased.
And this wasn't just a one-off historical anomaly.
No, it continued. Similar events occurred with Imam Qari Tayyib and another sheikh in Bangladesh in the 60s and 70s. In the latter case, the sheikh had passed away decades earlier, yet in 2014, his grave again emitted this strong, beautiful fragrance for a full 24 hours. This shows the deep, real connection between the physical resting place of the body and the soul's current state of comfort or isolation.
So Barzakh is a very real, hidden world that sometimes just bleeds into our reality.
It can.
And much like the previous transfers, if the soul is experiencing comfort in Al-Yin, they are reluctant to move on to World 5.
They do not want to leave this peaceful state. Their only desire is for the day of judgment to arrive quickly so they can enter Jannah, or perhaps for their remaining loved ones to join them safely in Barzakh. The only souls who are desperate for the fifth transfer are those enduring the punishment in Sijin.
They're desperate for any escape.
Any change, any escape.
Which brings us to World 5, Yawm el-Qiyamah, the day of judgment initiated by the fifth transfer, the mass resurrection.
This is the end of the intermediate life. The angel is commanded to blow the horn, and upon that first blast, all life ceases again. Every soul, those in Al-Yin, those in Sijin, is captured completely.
The second death.
It is a universal temporary cessation of existence, a second death, yes, wiping the slate clean before the final act.
And then the transformation of the entire universe begins.
Allah reshapes creation. The mountains are turned to dust, the stars fall, the oceans boil, and the entire earth is flattened into one vast, featureless plain.
No landmarks, no geography.
Nothing. Then the angel blows the horn a second time, and this is the resurrection. Bodies are brought back together, atom by atom, and the soul is blown back into its original body.
And the platform is vast enough to hold every creature ever made.
Every human, every jinn, every animal, every insect, every creature that has ever drawn breath. Yes, even the dinosaurs, all resurrected onto that single, massive platform for the reckoning.
What happens to the kinship we cherish so much in World 3? The family ties, the comfort of relationships?
They dissolve entirely. The Quran makes it starkly, terrifyingly clear. There will be no family eyes.
No family eyes.
A mother will not look upon her daughter as her daughter. A husband will not recognize his wife in that traditional sense. All earthly dependent bonds are shattered. Because the terror and the urgency of the day are so overwhelming that the sole focus is the fate of one's own soul. The courses say a man will run from his own brother, from his own mother, terrified of being asked for a single good deed because he has none to spare.
This day is immense. The sources say it lasts 50,000 years. This time distortion is essential to grasping the insignificance of World 3.
It's the key. When humans, after 50 millennia of standing and waiting for judgment, look back on their lives on Earth, that 40, 50, or 60 years they spent in dunya will feel like nothing more than one day.
Just one day.
Some will even say a morning or an evening. Imagine that. Your entire life, the career you sacrificed everything for, the fleeting joys you prioritized, the grudges you held, all of it, reduced to the length of a single cup of coffee in your memory.
The sheer magnitude of the reckoning just completely recontextualizes our entire existence here.
It does. The reckoning commences, and the experiences are completely polarized.
So
Some, the righteous, will find shade and tranquility under the protection of Allah. They'll be drinking from the pool with the prophets and their companions. For them, the 50,000 years will feel like the time it takes to pray 2 units of prayer.
And the others.
The others will endure the immense suffocating heat under a sun brought unbearably close, desperate for any release, any judgment, even if it's hellfire, just to escape the standing.
And unlike the previous 3 transfers, where comfort made the soul reluctant to leave, this is the only world where everyone is desperate to move on.
This is the universal yes.
Yeah.
Whether they are enduring punishment or experiencing shade, they all crave the final transfer to the ultimate destination, to the absolute certainty of World 6.
This brings us to the 6th and final world, Jannah, the garden, and Jahannam, the fire. The soul receives its eternal body, which is tailored to its fate.
The destination determines the very nature of your existence forevermore. For those destined for Jahannam, the fire, Allah will dramatically enlarge the body, so that the punishment, the heat, the constriction can be felt a lot more intensely and continuously.
And for jhana, for the garden, what is the process of receiving that ultimate perfect body?
If a person goes directly to jhana, or if they are washed out of the fire after a period of purification, they are washed in a special life-giving water called ma'ul hayat,
The water of life.
the water of life. This washing grants them a new eternal body, a body so perfect, so complete, that the traditions state, no eye has ever seen, no ear has ever heard of, and no human mind can ever conceive of it. It's completely beyond our current imagination.
And the ultimate success, Al-Fals Al-Atim, is finally realized in jhana. Our sources provide a beautiful, detailed glimpse into this eternal delight.
They do, particularly in Surah 37. It's depicted as a scene of absolute timeless relaxation and communion. The people of jhana are reclining on vast couches, facing one another, enjoying provisions and fruits that never end.
And they're served drinks.
Drinks from a fountain, a wine that, unlike its earthly counterpart, causes no headache and no drunkenness. They are attended by beautiful partners. It's a state of perfect contentment.
But amid this perfection, they start reminiscing. They talk about the test, about dunya, and specifically about the skeptics they encountered.
This is a really powerful part of the narrative. One resident of jhana turns to his friends and says, "Do you all remember that specific skeptical friend I had back in the world?"
The one who doubted all this?
Yes,
Yeah.
the one who used to mock me, saying, "Are you serious? You really believe that after we die and become bones and dust, we're going to get up again?"
And Allah grants this resident a vision, a way to confirm the reality of his escape.
He is allowed to look down and see that friend right there, trapped in the crushing depths of hellfire.
What a moment that must be.
The jhana resident just reflects on the sheer terror of his former life, the close call. He says, "Ruin me. If it wasn't for the gift of my Lord, I would have been right there with you." It's a moment of profound, overwhelming gratitude and the realization of the near miss.
And the final, crowning realization of this entire six-world journey is the certainty of permanence.
That is the very definition of Al-Faz Al-Atim, the greatest success. The conversation in jhana concludes with this glorious realization that there will be no more death.
No more transfers.
No more transfers. We endured the single death of the body in dunya, but there will be no more, and there will be no more punishment. That security, that absolute permanence and relief is greater than any achievement, greater than any worldly degree, any amount of wealth, any power. It is the end of the journey, the ultimate and final destination.
So, we have completed the map, 6 worlds, 5 transfers. We started in the abode of souls, moved through the womb, spent a negligible duration in dunya, passed through the intermediate life of Barzakh, endured the 50,000 years of the reckoning, and now stand at the door of eternity.
The lesson, when you see it laid out like that, is one of immediate, overwhelming urgency.
It has to be.
We are statistically much closer to the end of the journey than the beginning in terms of ultimate purpose. And this life we currently inhabit is simply a blip. We cannot allow ourselves to be sucked into this world's fleeting demands.
If you prioritize the fancy car that is guaranteed to go to the scrapyard over investing in the destination that defines eternity, you have fundamentally miscalculated the risk that was presented in the Pharaon wager.
You have to use the Sharia, that anti-forgetfulness program,
Yeah.
to continually interrupt your attachment.
Every single day.
Absolutely. We don't know the exact duration left for us in this third world. It could be a year, a month, a week. We just don't know. But Allah concludes that beautiful scene of success in jhana by commanding all people who want to work and who want to compete, they should aim for this success. We have to use every remaining minute to invest in World 6.
So here is the final provocative thought for you to take away and mull over. If the 60 or so years of life you are currently living will be referred to on the Day of Judgment as nothing more than a morning or an evening, what are you doing right now? What fleeting comfort are you chasing? What temporary anger are you holding on to? What brief distraction are you allowing to consume you that you are treating as if it were a permanent fixture, as if it justifies the potential loss of eternity?
Reevaluate your compass. Thank you for taking this deep dive with us.